Welcome to the Casey Cease Show. Casey is your entrepreneurial guide. Dive into weekly insights that blend inspiration with practical strategies to grow your business with integrity. From boosting sales to building strong relationships, Casey shares the essentials to help both your venture and personal dreams flourish. Ready to elevate your entrepreneurial journey? Let's dive in.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Casey Cease Show. I'm here with my friend, Stephen Blanchard, and today we're going to talk about the important issue of business credit, business financing, things like that, because I get a lot of questions from my clients and my friends that are involved in various forms of business, investing, entrepreneurship. And Stephen is a great guy. I met Stephen at a marketing workshop a year or two ago in Arizona. We hit it off. Poor guy had to sit next to me with all my ADHD antics, and him and his partner were great friends right away. We hit it off and just have kept in touch. And I've been following him online, and he has so many great insights because in this day and age, many of you may know that you see things on social media of get business credit and buy a G-Wagon. You know, you only need a 640 credit score. And a lot of that's a bunch of nonsense that Stephen and I will jump into. But Stephen, I'm really glad to have you on the show today. Why don't you take a few minutes and share a little bit about yourself, what you're currently doing, and then we'll dive in some questions.
Oh, perfect. I just want to say thank you for having me on, Mr. Casey. And the way I grew up, I always say Mr. or Mrs. So if you hear me say it quite often, this is the way I was raised. So pleasure to be here. And my name is Stephen Blanchard, as you say. And yeah, so I'm in the business financing field. I've been in the field for about 5 or 6 years now. Had a credit repair company and helped a lot of small business owners, but then slowly transitioned over to business financing, business lending, business credit, funding, and so on and so forth. And, you know, what we do today is we typically help small business owners acquire capital for their business, whether it's to inject a few dollars or just to get the business off the ground, or even if you have an operation going and you're just wanting to scale and you might need 50 to 100K. And that's kind of where we come in, myself and my team. And yeah, we talk about everything related to credit, because credit is really the fast track in order to, good personal credit is the fast track to get you to where you want to be. And of course, it requires a personal guarantee. And Mr. Casey, we'll talk about that as we go along today. But yeah, I'm in the lending space, man, and it's been a journey. It's been a pleasure. But it did come from a bad scenario, and I'll tell a quick story. And you may not even know this story, Mr. Casey. So the reason why I jumped into the industry is because I live in Ohio now. I've been here for about going on 11 years now. When I moved here, my credit was bad. I moved here with my 2 kids. And yeah, so we rented an apartment for years. And I always said that I wanted to own my own home. And to make a long story short, I worked on my credit myself. I didn't hire any type of credit repair agency or company. And it took me a long time. Took me a couple years. And then, fast forward, this is maybe like 6 or 7 years ago now, I got my credit score up to 740. And then maybe a year or two after that, we kind of went house shopping and then purchased my first home, the home I live in now, first primary residence. And I had a bunch of folks asking me, hey, man, how did you get your credit score up? I want to do it. I want to learn more about it. So I was giving out some free tips and tricks and just helping people for free. And I'm like, I can make some money from doing this. And that's kind of where it came from, man. So I launched my credit repair company. This is back in 18 or 19. And then a lot of people that were coming to me were small business owners. And that's why I transitioned over to the business credit space, because I found that the conversations were a lot different. I was able to network more, meet people like you. And yes, it's been great. Can't complain at all.
Yeah. So leading up to you moved to Ohio, you didn't have very good credit. What was your understanding of credit and finance prior to kind of that self-taught journey and everything else? What kind of business or work were you into prior to that? What was your background? What did you know or understand? And what pitfalls did you fall into that led you to the scenario you were in?
Man, that's a lot of questions, but I can answer them all.
I know you can.
I'll tell you this. So I'm pretty sure I'm typical, just like a lot of other folks here. They don't teach us finance and credit in school. And they may have changed now, because even my sons have came home and told me some things that they learned in school. But I know when I was in school, it just wasn't a topic. We had finance classes, but it wasn't in regards to how to manage debt, how to establish a credit score, how to open up a bank account in general, or none of that stuff. And so when I got out of high school, I think I was 18 or 19, and I wouldn't apply for a credit card at Bank of America. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I think it was like 3,400. And I'm like, okay, great. So I wasn't disciplined enough to know what to do with the money. And at that time, I had just graduated high school and I was working inside of a mall. So that's my background has always been sales. So I was inside of a mall working. I was managing about 5 locations. And I was making decent money at my age of 18 or 19. I was making maybe almost close to 1,000 a week.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So I actually moved out when I was 18, lived on my own, took care of my oldest son. And like I said, I just wasn't disciplined. So the money was coming in, but it was also going out just as fast, if not twice as fast. And so I found myself in debt, with those credit cards. I think I had 2 or 3 with those credit cards, and I just ruined my credit score because I didn't pay the stuff back, right? Just bad habits. And then I realized like, oh shoot, I need to move into a different apartment. So luckily I was able to find another apartment. And then I said, you know what? Let me start teaching myself some things. So prior to me graduating high school, I was always an avid reader of books. So I started with like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, David Bach with Start Late, Finish Rich. It's funny, I can still remember reading that book and a couple other books that I read. And then I just said, you know what? Let me get back on to my reading and educate myself on finances because nobody else is going to teach me this. And then I dove into Dave Ramsey heavily, all big time Dave Ramsey. So
I think we all go through a Dave Ramsey phase, right? Where, we realize that we've gotten ourselves in a lot of trouble. I remember someone, I was 21 years old, handed me a Dave Ramsey book, or I was 22, something like that. And I was a youth minister and I had quite a bit of debt from college because those free money cards, man, they were just throwing them at me. And I felt powerful, man, being able to go take my girlfriend who's on my wife, the Cheesecake Factory, take her out real nice dates, which I think that dinner probably ended up costing $3,400 with interest, but that's the thing. And I think everybody goes into Dave Ramsey and, that is great for a season, but talk through that season, walking through that, because a lot of our listeners either are of that all debt is bad, don't ever use debt, or if you're going to get a mortgage to 15 years, low interest, whatever. Tell us a little bit about your journey through that season. Cause I mean, Dave has a lot of great things to say. Not that I agree with him 100%, but I think he has some good things to say.
I will say this, my Dave Ramsey journey, I drank all of the Kool-Aid and all the sugar that came with it. So I didn't jump back into any quote unquote credit card debt. And I couldn't anyway because I didn't qualify.
Right.
So it was like, I can't do nothing. So let me just go down this path of budgeting correctly, and so on and so forth. And then, within that path, I did fix my credit just to fix it. But I did learn a lot of really good money management skills within this Financial Peace University. And when I had Financial Peace University, at the church I was attending back at home, they actually had the classes in that church. I got baptized at that church and my pastor there, a great guy. And this is when Dave Ramsey was doing his CD. This is CD. So this is, years ago. And I learned a whole lot. But then as I got older, I actually started a few businesses and I realized like what I've learned from him is not applicable. And it got worse and worse as we progressed because this day and age, you can't tell someone to get a 15-year mortgage and they're only making $20 an hour. You know what I'm saying? It's just hard. Not going to be able to afford it. So we'll be saving up for 20 or 30 years just to buy a home, right? And so what I did was I fixed my credit and I literally just like, you know what? I've never financed a car on my own. So when I was 25, right after I moved out here, I went to the dealership and I financed my first car. And I was like, okay, I'm rebuilding my credit. So just to go back into that Dave Ramsey story, some of the pitfalls that I ran into was just not being able to qualify for certain things just because I didn't work on my credit because I didn't know what to do at that time. And if I had to do it all over again, I would say, in my personal opinion, Dave Ramsey is good for budgeting and understanding money and how it works. But as far as from an entrepreneur standpoint, I'd wholeheartedly disagree with, and I haven't watched him in a while. I don't know if he's changed anything. But I wholeheartedly disagree with a lot of stuff he says in regards to entrepreneurship.
No, he carries it over also in like entre leadership and things like that, or whatever his other book is for business.
It is entre leadership.
Yeah. And he carries over kind of that debt-free mindset. But, and I mean, I know some highly profitable businesses that, let's say they're a plumbing or HVAC or something like that. They make high margins, high volume, and they might buy a car, pay it off quick, whatever, and they leverage debt, but they're real cash only. That's great. But a lot of entrepreneurs I work with these days, if you're in technical, if you need other things, it's very difficult not to know. And if you end up needing it, they end up using it poorly because they've never learned what it is or how to use it. Right. And so that's been a big thing of like understanding finance for business. And because I think stupid debt is the debt where you're blowing money just to blow money or to have swagger, but then it's not really bringing you money back with it. So
there's no return.
So when you turn that corner, you started entrepreneurship, you started building your own businesses. What did you do to start understanding a different relationship with credit, especially as a business owner?
Because I had to rebuild from the foundation, I started with secured cards. I started going online and downloading, and people don't even do this anymore, but downloading like PDFs and ebooks and stuff like that, just really educating myself, taking all the knowledge in, and really understanding credit. I got a few books here on my bookshelf back there that I started reading when I got back into my credit journey. And just understanding like debt is a tool, credit is a tool, money is a tool, and it's all about how you use it. And so once I understood a big portion of the algorithm and how it works and how to increase your score and how to do like credit limit increases, how the banks view you as a consumer, if you're risky or not risky, and all of those things, and what your credit score is not compromised, but composed of, I guess that's the right word I'm saying, between installment debt, credit cards and stuff like that. Then I said, if you play the game correctly, if you play chess with it, then it can take you far. It could take you far, especially in the business aspect of things. And so, yeah, it was just really self-education, but also at the same time experience, because I had to start from the bottom and I literally had to take my score to the top. And I wasn't one of those ones. Like I said, I never used a credit repair company. Then also I never had to purchase a authorized user trade line to boost my score. So my entire credit profile is built up organically. So
yeah, that's great. So now you find yourself here, you've helped people repair their credit, and now you're moving more into the funding side. What are some common things that you find most business owners should know about credit and financing that they don't know?
personal credit or business credit?
Well, start with personal and move over. Like the business
Okay.
owners start with their personal credit and then go into business credit.
Oh yeah, perfect. So a lot of the business owners I deal with, if they have decent or fairly decent, let's say starting at 700 and above, they've never tapped into the business credit space or funding space or trying to get capital for the business because they simply didn't know. It wasn't a matter of they tried and it didn't work. It's just simply not being educated on how business credit works. And once I educate them, a lot of them will have excellent credit scores. And I'll say, hey, what's holding your score back? Like, for example, me and you were just talking. If your utilization on the personal side is setting you back, especially for a business expense, whether it's a vehicle, whether you're running ads or marketing or whatever the case may be, a lot of that information can be brought over to business credit cards instead of the personal, because business credit cards don't report to your personal. So it doesn't affect your utilization. So your personal credit score always remains A1. And that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions is I just never knew how to use business credit. I've always had a 750 credit score. So then I come in and I say, okay, well, let myself and my team help you with that. So that way you have a further understanding. That way you never have to resort back into not knowing. So,
No, that's a
all
huge
right.
thing. I remember the first time, because early on in my businesses, I would just use personal credit cards
Yep.
and then pay them off or carry a balance for a month or two with a slow and all that. And I was like, man, my credit score is all over the map. And then I do remember that point where I went and opened up a new business account and they're like, would you like a business credit card? I'm like, well, don't I have to be making like $4 million a year to do that? And they're
Yep.
like, no, you have great credit. And so it turns out like there's specific banks that don't report back to your personal credit, or maybe they do if you're defaulting, but
If
otherwise
you default. Yep.
yeah, right. That, so that balance isn't affecting your personal credit. I mean, that little fact that nugget of truth you just threw out there about, certain business credit lines or credit cards not affecting personal credit as long as you keep them up to date is massive. I mean, that
Yep.
right there is worth whatever your fees are to work with you in gold. And you dish that out here for free. So, okay, let's say they get that and they need to start establishing some business credit. In general, what are some ways that you've helped educate business owners and help them to do that?
Yeah. So I started with my Facebook group just to kind of get the information out there because I found myself doing a lot of one-on-one. And I said, well, let me just get this stuff out to the masses. So recently I literally have been just posting content, started a YouTube channel, just posting reels and, places that I spoke at to kind of give some information and some knowledge on it. But I would say that for people that are just starting and you are a business owner, building your business credit is two different routes you can take. You can take the fast track, which is good credit, personal guarantee. The slow track is just EIN only, right? So just leveraging your tax ID. You don't want to personally guarantee anything. But the only thing with that route is you do find yourself spending money. You're buying net 30, net 60, net 90 accounts and so on and so forth, gas cards and all of that. But you're not really truly getting access to cash or capital, especially if you're a new business and you don't have any cash flow coming into a bank account. You're only going to get net 30 accounts. It's good if you want to build your business credit score and it establishes a business presence and you're establishing your business credit profile, but you still aren't going to be able to walk into a bank and say, hey, let me get $100,000. Let me get $50,000. So I always tell people, if you combine the two, or if you had to pick one out of the two, get your personal credit up to par, 720 plus up. And then you can tap into, as the kids say, tap in. You
Yeah.
can tap into like business credit cards, lines of credit, and so on and so forth. And if you're only looking for something small, 50K, you can get it personal guarantee and just make sure you pay it back. So I always just tell people the fast track is good personal credit will allow you to get what you want.
Yeah. And so let's say businesses, they've done that, they've got that going and everything else, and they're ready to do some larger capital investitures. Like they have some real clear vision of what they want to do. maybe they've established their local bank. I know Wells Fargo for a while on personal business lines of credit are max 100,000 on that per business or whatever. As they grow, how do you recommend? Because like, I didn't even know where to go look at my personal business score or my business scores for each of my entities, and so it's like, it was years before I realized that. So as someone starting to, get established, what are some foundational things that every business owner should be thinking about once they have their EIN? Maybe they go and get a business line. What else should they be working on or doing as they scale and grow their business? Because you and I talked before we started shooting that, you work with people now who are also investing in real estate. You're helping people who are, doing different pieces. But how do you jump that gap from the initial 50K cash infusion? You grow a profitable business. What are some general rules of thumb as far as like years in business and things like that?
Good tax professional or attorney or a good CPA, that's going to be someone that is really good with books and understanding your business, and not because one size does not fit all
Right.
in that industry. Cash flow, man, cash flow. Like as much money as you can put into a business bank account, not a personal account, is going to be key, because when they ask for those bank statements, that's going to be important as well. But just having, you don't have to jump into hiring like a CFO or anything like that right now, but it's just going to be cash flow. And then going back to your business credit reports, right? So you can pull those on the Experian Business has one. It's called an IntelliScore. Dun& Bradstreet gives you your Paydex score, and then Equifax Business also provides you with that as well. The reason why that's important as far as understanding that information once you start to, scale, or your business is not a ground floor company, is because when you want to go access those lines of credit, business term loans, even SBA loans, you have to know what's contained on your business credit profile. And that's where you can find that information. And then knowing how to read it, right? It's not, they're going to show you a score, but you got to know what's in between the fine lines, because that's what the lenders look at. And then all lenders also are not going to just they're not going to look at all three. Some of them may only look at your Experian report or your Equifax business report. A lot of them, believe it or not, don't look at Dun & Bradstreet. So,
ready to skyrocket your business and truly connect with your audience on a whole new level? Unleash the power of your story with Lucid Books. Imagine transforming your insights and experiences into a captivating book that not only cements your status as a thought leader, but also weaves a strong bond with your ideal clients. At Lucid Books, we're more than a publishing house. We're your creative partners on a journey to turn your wisdom into a masterpiece that speaks directly to the hearts and minds of your audience. Join forces with us, and let's embark on this incredible adventure together. Your story has the power to inspire, engage, and elevate. Are you ready to share it with the world?
Yeah. So I was just curious, because I mentioned this in the intro that I see a lot of ads because I follow entrepreneurs and everything else on social media of like, meet Rebecca. She has a 640 score and she went and got $100,000 and bought herself a G-Wagon, went to Mercedes. And you were kind of chuckling about that before, but can you bring some sober mindedness a little bit to leveraging business debt and good uses for it and what people should consider? Because you mentioned like, hey, you need 50K to launch something or whatever, but not every business startup works. Right. And so how do you help your clients navigate what they want and need, and then, appropriate, some realistic expectations when it comes to that kind of lending?
okay, I'll give you a real life case study. This is from yesterday. I won't say the young lady's name, but we had a Zoom call yesterday. Has had her business since 2017, but now is about to start taking it serious. So we just helped her get 96,000 in funding. But if we backtrack that, any client that comes to myself and my team, the biggest thing is, we'll take a look at your profile to see if you're qualified. And if you are, then we don't jump into, hey, let's get you some funding. It's, what's your plan? Because the amount of money that you're going to get, if you've never managed that amount of money, it's going to be a bad plan, because if you're not disciplined enough, or your spouse or your business partner or credit partner, it's going to turn into a lifestyle thing, right? So if you have a plan to where you have a solid business model, you have a solid business plan, you've invested into yourself and educating yourself on what you would do if you had this money available, whether it's acquisition of business vehicles. So this young lady, she owns a healthcare cleaning company type of thing, and she needs to acquire some more vehicles. She needs to get some funding for, payroll, inventory, expenses, and so on and so forth. And she's been paying most of the stuff out of her pocket, but she's been doing it on a small scale because she's still working a full-time job. So we kind of went over some different plans and what she can do with it. And of course, we end up getting the funding for her. But when we had our conversation yesterday, I told her, I said, hey, listen, we're going to stop here because there's no need to get more funding. Could she qualify for 250 based on her profile and her more? Yes, 100%. I said, let's stop here. Let's follow the plan that we said. If you need to get a new vehicle or 2 new vehicles for your business, great. Let's work on that. She's got some contracts that she's been having coming in. So those contracts a lot of times do pay for itself, but some of those contracts are on net terms as well. So she has upfront costs. She may not get paid for 30 days or 60 days. So this funding is going to assist with that. But I told her, I said, when you get to a position in your company where you need more funding, the first kind of question I'm going to ask with her is, why do you need more funding? Are you not returning, a positive return on investment with what you're working with? And if it's just to further scale, hire more employees, go to different states, then yeah, we can work on that. But yeah, so to give them that ongoing continuous education, I'll always keep in contact with my clients and just make sure, hey, how's the funding going? How's the return on investment? Are you seeing a profit now? So on and so forth. So
how have your clients done? I mean, you've been in this space for some time now.
Yeah.
And I think you said something very interesting as well, Stephen, that if you're not used to managing a larger chunk of cash, right? Because a lot of business owners are, keeping a pretty slim margin in their bank account and they're wanting to grow and there's maybe they need to grow or whatever. What's some general advice you'd give to people? You said have a plan, but to kind of up their thinking on just because there's cash in the account, what are some advice you give people? Because I've seen that before with clients I've worked with where they've been able to leverage a SBA loan or something else. And they had a general plan, but they kind of lost their mind for a little bit when it comes to seeing that much cash in their bank account. And so how do you advise business owners as they leverage financing to be wise and smart with how they manage all that?
Gotcha. That's actually a good question. I don't have that in my business yet as a model of helping them manage that type of cash flow coming in or that injection. I do a lot of outsourcing. So I know people in different fields and I say, hey, listen, if you need someone for budgeting, okay, I can refer you to this person. And then let that, they make their money, their fee and whatnot. But when it comes to helping them maintain that, and so they don't turn it into just frivolous spending, I just kind of just do a pulse check with them just to make sure they're good. And if they find themselves, hey man, I missed the payment. Okay, why'd you miss the payment? What's the balance on that card? Oh, you're maxed out. Tell me what's going on. Let's walk through that so we don't find ourselves doing that continuously. But their plan itself, I don't take a look at their quote unquote business plan and, to a T.
Right.
I just ask them questions about the business. How long have you been doing it? Whether you're just starting this business, how long have you been in the industry as an employee? You know what I mean? And a lot of that stuff, plays a part. But it's just the small common knowledge that some of these people don't have. And then we kind of go over it and the light bulb turns on. They're like, oh, so I really don't need that much money. No, you can start with this. Don't get so bombarded with what we see on social media where these people have all these things because behind closed doors, we really don't know what's going on. So just focus on you and your family and focus on what you can handle right now. And then as you grow and scale with the right optimizations or systems and whatnot, then we can start focus on the other stuff. But right now, just take it slow, understand your process, understand your business first.
So with your business offerings, are you primarily helping people get financing with credit cards? Or are you connecting with SBA loans? How are you primarily serving your clients as they come into you?
Yeah, SBA, if you are a newer business, you won't qualify, right? And there's a lot of underwriting, a lot of paperwork that deals with SBA. So primarily when folks are coming to me, we're just leveraging 0% business credit cards through like Chase, Bank of America, and all of that good stuff. And because the underwriting is a lot different for a business credit card than it is with a term loan, a lot of times you can get access to these products with no documentation required. You don't have to be making, $20,000 a month. You don't have to show profit and loss statements. You don't have to show, tax returns and so on and so forth. So it's boom, we can get you the 50 to 100K right now, just leveraging your personal credit. So primarily it's going to be business credit cards. And then once their business goes over like that 2-year mark and is profitable, whether they have filed their taxes or not, we may be able to jump into some small lines of unsecured credit lines up to between 50 to 100K as well.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
So talk to us a little bit about your ideal client, people that if they're listening to this and like, man, I would love to talk to this guy. I know you help pretty much anybody that you're able to, but who's kind of your ideal client right now?
Yeah, business owners in industries of real estate investing, e-commerce, business owners who want to start running paid advertisement. I would benchmark there, but then right along with that are business owners who have good credit.
Yeah.
Or a business owner who may not have good credit. They have a good solid plan or they've been operating for a while, but they have a good credit partner is what we call them. We call them a player two. So a player two could be someone who has interest into the business, or it could be grandmother, brother, sister, son, daughter, whoever, as long as they have good credit, because Now, with both of you combined or that person having the good credit, you can leverage their good credit to get access to capital.
Oh, that's smart. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, great, man. So is there any question I should have asked you that I have not asked you yet?
Oh, man. I get questions all day long. I would say, okay, well, as far as a question, I'm not sure, but one of the common questions that I get is, why wouldn't someone qualify as a business owner to get access to some type of funding? And it would be just, bad personal credit, no cash flow, no established entity. Right there are disqualifications automatically. I had a guy reach out to me on Instagram. I made this post a few days ago on Instagram, and he's been in the industry for, I think he said 5 to 7 years, but he wanted to start his own business within that industry because he's mastered his craft. And he needed access to, I think it was only like 25 or 30K or something like that. But he didn't have his entity set up. And then his credit score was only like a 560, right? So I had to break it to him and say, hey, man, at the moment, you don't qualify to get access to any capital, but let me point you in the right direction of how you can fix your credit, how you can make sure you establish your entity the right way and not paying someone $1,500 just to set up an LLC. And then also a business bank account. So like the foundational stuff, like, yeah, make sure you got a business bank account. And I get people to ask, what's the best business bank account to get? I think it's all relative. I would say me personally, on a national level, because they're available in all states, I think, except for Alaska, I like Chase, right? Because I can be anywhere and go to an ATM and withdraw money. But I always tell people, get a business bank account with a national bank and then maybe get a business checking account with a local credit union. Credit unions are, and I'll be honest with you, Mr. Casey, credit unions actually give out more money than national banks. It's just that they don't advertise a lot of their products online, and you can't apply online. You have to go inside of a branch and meet with a vice president and so on and so forth. So,
gotcha. That's a great tip right there. So, well, that's excellent. So, yeah, where can people find you online?
Yeah, so fastest way to find me online, I would give out a website link. I would say more so if you wanted to schedule a one-on-one. I'm primarily on Facebook, just to make short this thing up. I'm primarily on Facebook. I'm very active there. Stephen Blanchard is my Facebook name. If you follow Mr. Casey, if you type my name in, it'll pop right up. Just, shoot me a DM, shoot me an inbox. I kind of like it to be more organic. I don't want somebody to going through a whole funnel and all of that good stuff. I'm a human being. Just so if I tell a quick story, I had a guy found me from my YouTube channel, and I only have a couple of videos up there, but then he found me on Instagram and then sent me a message and said, hey, I like your authenticity. Hopefully I said that right.
You did.
I watched a couple of your videos and I want to schedule some time with you. And this was just last week. And making a long story short, we spoke a couple days ago, guy down in Texas, and really good guy. I haven't spoke to him with him since. I kind of just gave him some knowledge and some information, but I like talking face to face, man. I'm in front of you. Let's hash it out. So,
well, maybe we will, if you'll let us, we'll put a link to your Facebook group if people want to join up and come in there and just get the free stuff. We'll leave a link for that in the show description as well. And as a business owner who has struggled early on with debt and understanding how to manage debt and credit and lines, I know having met someone like you way earlier on would have saved me tons of time and money and headaches and stress. And so I can't thank you enough for coming on the show here today. And if you're watching, feel free to listen, to share this, to hit that like button, and to invite some friends to travel along. And so until our next episode, this is Casey Cease. We'll talk to you soon.
That wraps up this episode of The Casey Cease Show. Make sure to visit our website, thecaseyceaseshow.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. You might also want to check out our book for business consultation, available at Lucid Books, or double your sales strategy session at Planify Agency. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode.